Welcome back to Inside Story. One of Pennsylvania's congressional members, a very conservative member, Charlie Dent, has decided to resign, and not just next year, a little earlier, this May perhaps. The timing's interesting. Is he trying to disassociate himself from what could be, critics are saying, a disastrous midterm election? Why would he leave now?
Well, the key is that he's not waiting to the end of the term. He's leaving almost immediately. First of all, you have to recognize Charlie Dent was a great member of Congress and did fantastic things for the entire Commonwealth. He had gotten to the point where he was consequential. He's going to be missed. I think he got tired of taking arrows from the front and the back. So he knew that he'd have to fight the opposition on the other side of the political aisle. It got to be a little bit tiring to have his own shooting at him. In this case, he's a lot like Paul Ryan, except he's leaving now, and my guess, and it's only a guess, he may have an opportunity that has a short shelf life.
Got it.
So he's got to go now because he'd be conflicted if he couldn't.
Makes sense.
If he waited to the end.
Meantime, the Pennsylvania House on a local level voted to ban abortions for Down syndrome fetuses, and the governor has said he will veto that. An interesting fight, and do you think this will lead to a slippery slope perhaps that will increase bans on other areas of abortion?
I don't think so, Monica, because I think that, when you're dealing with Down syndrome, you are not dealing with a life-threatening disease. You're not dealing with a situation of a child who's not going to be able to survive. I think that what the Pennsylvania House, what they did by an overwhelming margin of, I think, 139 to 58, was indicate that imperfections do not deprive you of the right to life. And even though we're talking about a woman's right to choose an abortion, when you're diagnosed with a Down's child, it's usually later in the pregnancy. So this isn't something where you're dealing with either the health of the mother or the health of the child. You're looking at, they simply don't want to have a disabled child, and that's a problem. And I think that that's the situation where the state can go in under Planned Parenthood versus Casey and under Roe and protect the life of that child. And so I'm very happy with what they did.
Even though the governor feels differently. Anybody else want to weigh in?
Well, I think, it still is about a woman's right to choose. Look, it's always a tough decision. I can't imagine what parents would be going through in making that kind of decision. But that's why we've taken it out of politics and we put it in the hands of women and families and their doctors to make those kind of very tough decisions.
Because they would be the families on the ground who are doing the day-to-day care in a difficult situation. All right, Amazon is looking for a new headquarters, and they're appealing to everywhere from Pittsburgh, New Jersey, Houston, all those places, of course, putting together incentive packages. That's a normal course of events in business. Those include tax abatements and other incentives, if you will, building on less expensive land and having workers who are pre-trained, those kind of things. The details of the packages, though, can often be kept secret because you don't want to give away your hand, if you will, and have the others up the ante. Is that all that's happening? Because we're learning that the details for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania are not being released. Is it a matter of public record, as one lower group said?
As you know, I'm a big believer in transparency, right? I say here all the time that sunshine is the best disinfectant. But I want to see us win. And this is a negotiation. And you are at a competitive disadvantage if your negotiations take place in public. So I have no problem with this as these negotiations take place with every other company that you're trying to get to come to Philadelphia. If they occur behind closed doors, ultimately though, we'll all know what was on the table and we'll judge our elected officials accordingly.
New Jersey's offering $7 billion in tax incentives, if you will, or tax cuts, and Houston, $250,000, that kind of thing, $250 million. So it is big numbers we're talking about. All right, let's talk about Senator Pat Toomey is leading the charge, the architect of a bill that would roll back some of the consumer regulations for auto lending. A tricky area because some of the people, conservatives, say it's a way to rein in the bureaucracy and to boost the economy. Opponents, though, say consumers are going to be the ones caught in the crosshairs. What's the real deal?
I think this is a part of, as you said, a bigger question of changing rules and regulations. And you've got people on the one hand who say, we think that these are too many regulations and we need this. There's a loophole where the Senate can, within a certain time frame, change some of those regulations. But I think in the end, anytime you're talking about issues of discrimination of any particular group of people as it relates to money, we've had conversations here in the city of Philadelphia about how are we doing? Is there discrimination in mortgage lending? Is there discrimination in other ways that we lend to people? I think we want to be extremely careful about getting rid of regulations that have anything at all to do with discriminating against people based on race, gender, or where they live.
All right. And we're going to have Inside Stories of the Week when we come right back. Stick around.